Hey guys! I know it's been a long time since I've made a video. Let me explain what happened. My laptop broke and was in the computer shop for 2 weeks. I got my laptop back. Final Cut was not on there, so I had no way of editing my videos. It just got put back on my computer, so I'm back in business. It feels good to be back. Too bad it has to be on these terms. I'm wearing black today because it's the color of my soul. I've been dying inside for about 3 days. So why, you ask, have I been crying non-stop for 3 days? Yep. Allegiant came out about a week ago. I finished it 3 days ago. I am so emotional right now. So as usual, I'm gonna give a spoiler-free review and then I'm gonna get into the spoilers. So here we go. If we remember, Insurgent left off on a cliffhanger. Unlike Insurgent, this book starts off a couple of days after that cliffhanger. So Evelyn has now taken over the city, and Evelyn has made it a rule that you cannot travel outside of the city. But this group, the Allegiant, are being led by Johanna and Kara, Will's sister. What they're gonna do is they're going to send a group of people outside the city to find out what the deal is. So they get Tris and Tobias to help them, and they end up sending out Tris, Tobias, Uriah, Christina, Kara, and Tori. Of course, Evelyn is not just gonna let them go that easily. So I'll be honest with you, shit goes down. But eventually they find the group of people in charge in the real world. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but I'm just going to say that they find out that they are not the only city with a faction system. They are being controlled by an outside force a lot more than you would have imagined. And nothing is as it seems. And it's really not what you would expect to have outside the city. So pretty much what happens in Allegiant is that you just find out what is happening beyond the fence. So this book was really, really epic. It was simultaneously the best thing that ever happened to me and the worst thing that ever happened to me. It's from two different perspectives. Of course, you have Tris and then you have Tobias. At first I thought it was going to be a little weird, but I think if you read the extra stories that Veronica Roth has written, then it's really easy to kind of get used to it. And actually, I think that's the only way she could have written this story, is because Tris and Tobias are not always together and they are doing different things. And you need to find out what's happening over here and what's happening over here. So I think the dual perspective made a lot of sense. And of course, in Insurgent, we know that Tris thinks that the brave thing to do is to sacrifice herself. So after Tris almost dies in Insurgent, she comes to the realization that she does not want to die. That, my friends, is called character development. So this whole book is Tris back to her badass self, and it's great. And we meet some new characters, some of which we love and some of which we hate with every fiber of our being. But you know, overall, I think this book was my favorite of the three, even though I don't like to think about it, parts of it, for too long. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you, this book hit me harder than The Fault in Our Stars hit me. Whenever I see somebody get their book and get really excited about reading it, I just want to warn them to run away and never look back. But read it though. So that is the end of the spoiler-free portion of this review. If you keep watching past this point when you have not read the book, don't get mad at me. This is your official warning that there are going to be major spoilers ahead. Like, I'm talking about, if you watch the rest of this and you haven't read the book, the entire plot will be ruined for you. But if you have read the book, keep watching as I lead you down this journey of tears and heartache and desperation. Okay, so we're gonna get to the important part later, and we all know what I'm talking about, and I have to save it for later. First of all, I just want to say that I thought the bureau thing was really interesting. It's not really what I expected to be happening. And I thought it was really cool the fact that they had other cities that were being tested in exactly the same way. And I thought the whole thing with like the memory serum and like resetting their memories was so interesting. And it's really weird to think that they had to reset the same city before. And can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that Veronica Roth had the perfect opportunity to write a love triangle in there with Nita, and she didn't. You know why? Because nobody can break up Fortress. Except Veronica Roth. We're gonna talk about that later. And I loved how Triss came to realize that she legitimately loves Tobias. I love the whole thing she said about the fact that she loves him, but is she good for him? And they are perfect for each other because they bring out the strength in each other. Tobias brings out Triss's strength, and Triss brings out Tobias's vulnerability. And only those two can bring that out in each other, which is why they're my OTP. And this book had so many cute Fortress moments. It was like the best thing ever. Like with their date, just all the little cute moments, and then of course they had a little fight, but then they got back together and it was beautiful. And I think that Triss had a really interesting relationship with Caleb in this book because obviously he kind of led her to her death, so she's really pissed off. But I think it's really interesting because he is still her brother. He is a part of her and she will always love him and want to protect him. And I just thought it was such a cool dynamic of like she hates him, but he is a part of her and she loves him too. But back to Fortress. I think that the best thing that has ever happened to me in my life was Fortress sex. Like, let's just take a minute to celebrate the beauty of the Fortress sex scene. I've made a huge mistake. This is gonna take so long to clean up. I would like to thank Veronica Roth for bringing the beautiful sex scene into reality. I would like to thank myself for buying the book. I would like to thank not only God but also Jesus for bringing this to fruition. It was perfect. It was perfect. It was everything I ever wanted it to be and more. It was beautifully written. But afterwards, everything was perfect, but there was still 100 pages left. And that's when I knew. I knew that one of them was not going to make it to the end of the book. Not only that, but there was the part where they literally said, "I'll see you soon." That's the kiss of death right there. I knew that Triss was gonna go in place of Caleb, but then when she beat the death serum, I was like, yo, maybe she can live past this. Maybe this is gonna be great. And then fucking David shows up with a gun. Part of me was holding out hope that she would use his love for her mother to convince him to let her live. I was so stupid. I can't think about this scene without crying. I've cried so many times. About 20 minutes ago I burst into tears. Just letting you know right now I'm going to start crying when I talk about this. Triss lived up until the moment where she was needed. And then she pressed the button and stopped everything and saved the city. And then she died and her mom showed up. And her words were, "Am I done yet?" Keep in mind, at the end of Insurgent, she lays there thinking she's going to die and says, "I'm not done yet." This signified that she had fulfilled her purpose, that her story was over. And I've never read a book before where the main character and the narrator of the first two books and half of the third book dies. Part of me thinks Veronica Roth is a goddamn genius for what she did. I mean, she took a risk and just ran with it. I've always wondered what it would be like if, you know, these characters, obviously they're the main character, but we're always the main character in our normal lives. We are the narrator of our lives, but everybody dies. To say that the main character of a book series is always safe is just not true. We've gone on this journey with Triss the whole time. We got to that point and it's over. I was so upset. Like, every day since then has just kind of been like, poor Tris. Why? And I understand why Veronica Roth killed Tris. Her whole journey has been about sacrifice and what is the right time to sacrifice your life. Her parents sacrificed their life for her even though she left them for Dauntless because they loved her. She was a part of them. And then when Tris came to the realization that Caleb was a part of her, she was prepared to die for him because she couldn't go on living knowing that Caleb sacrificed himself just so she would forgive him. So on that level, I totally understand why Veronica did it. At the same time, she is my least favorite person in the world. She is like a beautiful, beautiful pixie-haired Satan. I was more upset about the death of Tris Prior than I was about the death of Augustus Waters. And I never, ever thought that I would be able to say that about anybody. I think the thing that got me was Tobias. Obviously, it was so wonderful that Evelyn chose him over Control. That was beautiful. But then he lost Tris, his person. He will never have that with anybody else. I'm crying again. And he says the thing at the end about how he'll never feel the same in anybody else's arms than he did when he was with Tris. Nope. I thought it was just really beautiful that they scattered her ashes in the zip line because that's when Tris came into her own and she felt like she belonged somewhere and she was happy for the first time since choosing Dauntless, and it was just this book ruined my life, but I loved it. It was like the best reading experience I've ever had, except for it was also the worst. Remember when we were so excited to read this book? Little did we know. So that's what I thought about Allegiant. It was beautiful, it was heartbreaking, I laughed, I cried some more, I kept crying, and then I didn't stop crying, and I'm still crying. But Veronica Roth, she's just the Queen of America. Just crown her the Queen of America. But that's what I thought about Allegiant. I'm still crying, and I'm never gonna get over it, to be honest with you. Also, for those of you who are interested, I wrote an alternate ending for Allegiant that's much happier, and I will post the link for that in the doobly-doo, so check that out if you want. I had to write it for my own sanity, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Bye!